And right now we have a shortage, and we have a massive shortage. You can look at not just listen to us, look at any of the stats out there of the G7 nations. We have the lowest housing per capita, in the G7, which has resulted in our increasing cost of living, or for housing.
You're listening to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast with your hosts, Paul Stevenson, David Warren, and Greg Campbell. Let's see what's going on in the world of real estate today.
Oh, hey, we're on. We're on. Well, welcome to the. Well, I was waiting for the groove. Welcome to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast. My name is Greg Campbell. I'm a realtor and managing director at the agency Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. I'm here with my colleague David Warren, who is a mortgage mastermind and owner at Referral Mortgages, and the voice of Paul Stevenson today will be here. He's also a mortgage agent. You can check him out at PaulStevenson.ca for some great tips, advice, or whatever you want. You know, we're a good crew here. We help each other out. We do some business. We like to talk real estate, and here we are today doing it again. Paul, are you there? Can you say hello, Paul?
Yeah, I just want to say the agency before we get started.
I didn't do that, but I did do the laugh.
You did.
Okay, guys. You know what a week.
Cruiser.
I don't know what to say here. I'll let's just get right into this. Let's get right into the business of real estate in Ottawa. I did want to say something to everybody listening out there. November home sales are down 40%. They're down 40%. There's very little activity. There's opportunities for buyers. Sellers are either reducing their homes. I've seen tons of vacant properties. Sellers have already moved on to their new home, and they're trying to sell their home that's vacant, so they're willing to take a little bit less. So, there's opportunities for buyers. Sellers, I say, if you're ready to sell, just be aware of your pricing and get it done. If you want to wait till the new year and see what happens, wait till the new year and see what happens. Just talk to your mortgage brokers, talk to your realtors, talk to your priest, your minister, whoever you need to talk to. Pray. I don't know what you need to do.
This is your PSA for the holiday season?
I don't know what it is. Talk to Santa. Talk to Santa. He can help you out. Him and his little elves. Talk to them. Might have some good advice for you. Heading into the holidays here.
Does it feel like December?
I don't know what it feels like. It just feels like another day. I can't believe it's December and it's the end of we're almost at the end of the year. Speaking of end of the year, we will be starting a Canadian section, like an exclusive section in the new year, because it's the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast, and we always talk about Ottawa as opposed to Canada as a whole. We get a lot of questions about Canada as a whole, or people get confused sometimes about the numbers. So we are going to do a Canadian section because we feel that it's time that we dip into that to expand our knowledge and our market, our listenership. I don't know. And we have a guest coming on the 12th. I think that's next week. And we are going to aim to have some more guests next year to keep you all engaged, give you some new information from different sources so we can have more exciting conversations. Let's do this. So I did some stats on, actually, you know what? No, I'm not ready for this. David, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm just letting you go. I'm just letting you go. It's the one-man show. I like it.
Just getting out of the way.
I'm just on fire right now. I don't know why. I don't know what happened to me this morning.
I'm just gonna let you roll.
Greg must have had a Colt 45 this morning.
Give me some of that malt liquor, homie. Let's get it on.
Oh my gosh. So I want to I wanted to address we got a few comments last week. We actually got a couple of emails as well from listeners thinking that we're being a little too hard on our federal electives. And
that we were being too hard.
Well, just with the new bill passing and Bill 23 and some of the things that, some of our opinions on it. And I guess I think there was one listener that thought that we were a little too harsh on the federal government and saying that we were two on one side altogether. But I think ultimately, we try to, at least I believe we do, we try to be as authentic as possible and say our true opinions. And obviously, no matter who you talk to, someone's opinions are going to fall on one side of the line or the other.
True.
And I think that just being in it, we may be a little jaded as far as, what's happening or what may happen, but we are certainly trying to give our honest opinion based on where we think things lie in that moment, and if you listen to any of our shows over a long term, you'll notice that our opinions change, believe it or not. That happens to people. They learn more and their opinions change. So I would just say for anyone who feels that sometimes we're a little too harsh on one thing, sometimes there's emotions involved. Maybe we had a client that got, they got screwed over by a new policy change, or it shifted the market in some way that we weren't prepared for. So, I mean, just take it as a grain of salt. We're just three talking heads, and we're just giving our opinions. So, we're not always going to agree on things, and our listeners are not always going to agree with us, but we do show up authentically, and I think we try to give our true opinions and try to give you the best information possible to.
Oh, Paul, we lost you there, Paul. You must have gone through a dead zone. Paul just went through the dead zone.
Damn it!
There he is. There he is.
We got the gist.
Listen, let me just follow up on that before you cut out again, Paul. What I do want to say is I agree wholeheartedly with what you said about how we have our own opinions. We just happen to be on one side of it or jaded from situations. The only thing, I love our country. I love that everyone is trying to make changes, but the key word there is trying, and they're not doing it quick enough. And that's where what I find, and this is not just a national problem, I think this is an international problem where countries as a whole or governments still have this old way of doing business and handling their business, which is the country. And we're in a day and age where things need to happen fast, and the governments are very slow to catch up to where things like technology are, or where people's heads are at, because there's so much information. So, going back to the beginning of the year, when, I'm always like, well, that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. By the time the next election comes around, we're going to have spent millions of dollars on something that'll never happen. Someone else will be elected, squash that, and then it's on to the next thing. So I think, to that point, and to the listener mentioning the Bill C-23 thing, it's like, that's how I see it. I just see that the federal government is just slow, and the people are kind of tired of it, and things need to happen faster, and they need to be executed. So no matter what that is, it needs to happen. There needs to be decisions made quickly for the citizens, and they need to do better. And I can understand why people could, have different opinions about things, but that's my bottom line. It's like it needs to be treated more like a business, and they're not like the lack of speed to get anything done and our money is bananas. And I think that goes internationally now. Thoughts on that, boys?
No, I think you're. I think you're bang on. I to both of your points that we do get jaded, the three of us, a little bit, being in the industry and seeing the deficiencies on an ongoing basis between whether it be buyers, sellers, builders, government, changing. Or instituting different acts that kind of come out of left field. I think to this person's question or comment about Bill 23, it's about the really this is the build better homes faster. I mean, I think by and large, we're pro, we're all for it. And this person thought we're against it. We're very much interested in and hoping that some legislation comes along that actually builds more homes faster, so that the prices stop escalating, that people have affordable housing, that people have somewhere to go. And optically, it sounds all great that streamlining development and reducing costs, increased density near transit hubs, removal of third-party appeals, reducing development charges, and increasing community benefit charges. I think site plan control, like all of these are great. It's just, let's bring it in and hopefully it actually does make a change, in our immediate communities. And this woman that emailed us, she, kind of commented or believes that we're very pro developers and things like that. We're pro development, absolutely. It doesn't have to be individual developers. It could be the municipality, the provincial, federal building these affordable housing homes. But right now, it's just private developers that are doing any of these. And right now, we have a shortage, and we have a massive shortage. You can look at not just listen to us. Look at any of the stats out there of the G7 nations. We have the lowest per capita or housing per capita, in the G7, which has resulted in our increasing cost of living or for housing. There's a lot of studies out there by, not just the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast, but by many different organizations studying real estate as a whole in developing nations. And we're behind the 8 ball when it comes to building. So yes, we're pro development because we want there to be more supply. We see everything that the government's instituting or bringing out there of increasing immigration to the country, which is great, but we don't have the housing for the population as it is, let alone for an increase of 500,000 new residents a year. And so it's got to be private developers that are picking up that slack. And so hopefully this bill 23 does pick that up. Hopefully, developers pick it up as well. And hopefully costs come down as an overall, whether that development costs, permit costs, or, just materials. It's not just the delay in permits as to why development is slow. There's a lot of cogs in the wheel, but certainly the average timeline to get a permit of being a year is pretty wild. So our point on that was just like, that's just one instance of the process, but it's the cost involved, a delay of a year. Yeah, there's other things that come into play of, pre-sale of units or, timing or this or that and materials, but that is a huge cog. When you've got even small developers that are wanting to just go and they're having to wait such a long period of time. And then it comes into play that, we are in a nation with that we deal with winter. And so our build season is short. And so especially in a city like Ottawa, we only have a few months of the year. And so if the city is taking too long to spit out that permit, and it takes a year, and depending on when that builder actually started to submit, they might have to wait over a year to actually be able to build because they can't just start in the middle of winter. And so it adds extra delays to the cycle. So there's many different factors, but
I heard last week one of the the conservative leader in the House was actually saying that in Canada it takes 250 days to get that permit on average, and I think they used South Korea as an example. It was less than 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're not South Korea, but the point is, there's clearly 250 days is preposterous. Like, there's nothing that can take that long to run through to get a permit. And to your point, Dave, like you said about the seasonal development, I mean, that's a huge factor in Ottawa, especially most of Canada is going to be dealing with that. But then, like you said, most people that are building one-off homes, people are putting deposits. They want to see all the plans. They want to see the blueprints of the design. Everything has to be done before a shovel hits the ground, obviously. So there's a lot of upfront hard costs that are put into the project before you even know if you're going to get that permit or not. And if it's going to take another year, the cost of everything's gone up likely. As we've seen recently, things can shift a lot in 12 months. So it's a variable that is, again, we talked about house flippers last week. Developers are also dealing with that risk. They're taking on all that risk, and they're kind of seen as the bad guy because they might because it's their job and they might make money from it. But ultimately, we need those developers now more than ever to get those shovels in the ground as soon as possible and create that affordable housing that we're all talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, but, I think, Dave, you just mentioned it too. I mean, the immigration, that's not stopping. That's not stopping at all. So to my next point of, there was a comment on the page. Actually, let me bring that up here quickly. He was asking how I could say what I said. I have a question. How do you know that we are close to the bottom while interest rate hike is not over? We know you can get pre-approved and lock in interest rate for up to 120 days. Means some home buyers current on the market were approved 3 months ago while interest rates were much lower. Every single month bring new potential buyers with less purchasing power than the previous month. Excuse me, hold up. Can you explain your opinion? I don't get it. So that's a very good question. I think that's a very valid and common question that people would ask. I asked them what they thought, and they agreed with exactly what I'm about to say. And I think I said last week. So you got to remember too, it's Ottawa. So going back to our points, high immigration, high household income, always. Now, if the rate goes up another 0.5, which is what it's supposed to do, I mean, I think that's right. And that's this week, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. It'll be, it's expected to increase another 0.5%.
Yeah. Okay. So another 0.5%. At the same time, people are getting more accustomed to where we're at now. They're more familiar with the territory that the rates are up. People coming in to buy are comfortable with what they're spending. They understand it. So even if it goes up that extra point, the purchase price might go down, but it's not going to go down too much more. It will, it could go down in certain neighborhoods, but at the same time, you got to remember a lot of people are on hold now because it's getting into the winter. As soon as we come into that spring market again, the people that were waiting to buy and waiting to sell are all going to come back at the same time. So now, unless there's like triple the amount of homes coming available for sale, the prices are going to stay the same or go up again slightly because more people are going to be buying and there'll be nicer properties available for buyers. So, I mean, I don't see how it could go down or stop too much more. If it slows down, that's going to be based on the fear of inflation and other issues with living rather than housing, I believe personally. So, I mean, it is, again, we say this is just our opinion. It could be different, but the way that I feel, and I said, this gentleman from CMHC said the exact same thing to me. So he thinks, and he says that the consensus at CMHC, I'm not going to name anybody, obviously, in case something goes, don't want to put anybody on the spot here, but the consensus was that in Ottawa in particular, they felt that we were, if not at the bottom, very close to the bottom, and that spring would just be a nice balanced market, not a buyer's market, not a seller's market, but just a nice balanced market back to what it used to be. And we should see a steady increase in sales and some nice listings available. So, I mean, that's how I feel about it. And I think that it's very realistic for Ottawa. For the rest of the country, it's different. We don't focus on that. So I'm not sure.
I wanted to no, go ahead.
I was just going to touch on the pricing and the next rate announcement, which is Wednesday, December 7th, for any of you in variable rate mortgages. So be prepared for your payments to go up. Nice January 1st present. But really, kind of historically, what's happened with any rate increase of about 0.5% is we're getting price reduction in max qualifying by about 5% from home buyers. So there's it could be a correlation, but a direct correlation between the rate increases and that diminished max qualifying and where the housing prices have dropped. So, to your point, Greg, I think we are around the bottom, but I think in my view, we'll drop a little bit lower after this rate increase by, max another, few percent, but level out because they're indicating they're not going to increase over the next year. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's where, it'll bottom out, and then it'll just be a matter of how many get back into the market from a supply and demand standpoint and driving prices, in my view.
Yeah, and I think agents are going to be pricing, sellers are going to be in the right headspace where they're going to understand where the market is based on the sales over the last 2 months, especially because it's more like you can actually get a proper number, not like we're just looking at numbers that don't make sense and just pricing homes based on the sales from 2 days ago or last week, right? We've got more of a
What I was just going to touch on that too about the announcement this week, because I think there's still a very large misconception and misunderstanding of these rate increases, and it's very likely due to just the way that the headlines are written, and rates are going up and this and that. But I got at least 3 to 5 calls last week from clients that are pre-approved or looking to get pre-approved, saying we want to get this in before the rate hike next week. Like, I don't think they understand the impacts. Like, they believe, and again, I know we've talked about this, but there's clearly still a misunderstanding that when these rate hikes go up, like when there's a rate announcement like this and rates go up, it's only for variable rate mortgages. So if I've locked you in on a pre-approval at, say, prime minus 0.9, that won't change. You're still going to be locked in at prime minus 0.9, but the prime that you're getting the 0.9 off of is going to change. So you're as you said, your buying power is going to decrease, but the rate itself that you're going to get is not going to change, especially for variable. And if you're on fixed, then the rate announcement has no impact on you. The fixed rates, at least on paper, aren't directly correlated with the Bank of Canada's announcements or variable rates in any way. They're based on different metrics. I know we talk about this all the time, but I'm still getting people asking me about wanting to get pre-approved before the rate hike because they believe that in some way that's going to lock them in for a lower rate. And if you're talking variable rates, it won't. Your discount will remain the same. It's still going to be depending, obviously, on your file structure and owner-occupied rental, renewal, things like that. There's obviously different factors that impact the rate, but generally speaking, the discount you're going to get off of the rate is going to stay the same for variable. So this rate hike, there's no benefit to locking in beforehand, other than maybe your buying power is going to be a bit higher. But for that to be locked in, you have to have found a home and actually have an accepted offer. And we're submitting it for an approval, not just a pre-approval or a rate hold of some sort.
Great info, Paul.
That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
That was amazing.
But it is something that we keep people ask me all the time. I'm sure, Dave, you're getting it as well. Like, well, rates are going up. We want to lock in, or this and that. So I just wanted to kind of explain the difference between the two things, because everyone. I think we're in it every day, as we always talk about, but most people are only dealing with mortgages maybe once every 5 years, right? So it's not something that they see a headline, rates are going up again in December, like, oh shoot, we got our renewal coming up in March. We should lock in. In that case, yeah, you definitely should. But if you're looking to get pre-approved, then the rate hikes aren't going to have as much of an impact on your rate, but they will have an impact on your buying power, as Dave mentioned.
Right. Okay. Torah. Here we are. Killing it again. Let's get into some stats. I held myself accountable, everyone, and I bring you the Kanata statistics.
Woo! Kanata.
So
let's do it.
We got the let's start with the detached homes in Kanata. Again, pretty wild numbers here. I love doing this. It's good practice for me to kind of keep in touch, and when anyone asks me how I feel about the market or what I know, I'm very informed. It's amazing. So Kanata detached homes, we have currently 48 active, averaging 67 days on market at an average list price of $1.193 million. That's high. Conditionally sold, we have 6 conditional sales, averaging 62 days on market at an average price of $1.175 million. Now check this out. In the last 4 weeks, we had 15 that sold, 32 days on market average, but the average sales price is $696,000. So I want to explain that this is just a random occurrence, I suppose, but most of the ones that are over $1 million are just selling now, and that's 4 weeks. So it seems like over the last 2 months, a lot of people that were shopping in the higher price point just kind of put the brakes on, in Kanata anyways, and said that they're going to wait and see what happens. But for whatever reason, last week they sold. Now, I will say there was one that sold for I think it was 2.3 million, which brings that average up substantially. It was a big farm that was on the market for almost 200 days. So again, I'm doing very averages. I'm not getting too particular because I want to make sure that everybody sees the real numbers. And in 2021, same time, 35 sold, averaging 15 days on market at an average price of $884,000. Now, I think that's more of where it would be overall, other than this little skewed moment in the books for Kanata right now with the 696 over the last 4 weeks.
I think it'll be interesting to see whether those any of those large sales continue though, in the area, whether it's, like you said, at that precipice of those people that were waiting, and just kind of seeing if it bottomed out, and they've kind of seen for a period of time that maybe prices haven't been dropping any further, and they kind of figured, all right, let's get back in it, or whether it's just that blip in time.
I will say that when I look at the stats in any neighborhood, active and conditionally sold, you'll see I'd say about 40% of them have done substantial price drops if they're on over 30 days. So there's always the down arrow. I see them all. Anyways, let's get into towns and semis. Kanata, 4 weeks ending December 5th, 2022. We have 35 active townhomes or semi-detached in Kanata, averaging 33 days on market at an average list price of $659,000. Conditionally sold, 2 conditionally sold, averaging 106 days on market, average $499. So that, and again, I looked at that, and both of those are, one's an older bungalow semi, and the other one is a proper townhome, not updated. So anyways, $499. Interesting. Sold, we have 19 sold, 34 days on market, average price $588. And now in 2021, we had 34 sold at the same time last year, averaging 10 days on market, average price $633,000. The average price, and this again goes to 2021, was higher than the average price this year over the same period. Very interesting. Because, we see a balance, but this is definitely a decrease year over year. Anyways, so let's get on to condos. Kanata condos, 4 weeks ending December 5th, 2022. 31 active condos, averaging 74 days on market. Average list price $437,000. Conditionally sold right now, 2, averaging 40 days on market. Average price $350,000. Sold in the last 4 weeks, only 8. 51 days on market, $534,000 is the average sales price. 2021, 15 sold, averaging 34 days on market, $428,000 was the average price. So that's interesting. Now, if you've been following, us, anyone else, condos have seemed to have been the most constant. I had somebody ask me why, and I couldn't answer that question. So I'm going to try and take a few hours over the next week and do a deep dive into condos across the city and and talk to some other people and see if I can get a better answer for that, because it is interesting how condos seem to be the one thing that is always slightly above what it was last year, where other things are fluctuating substantially. Let's get into the rentals for Kanata. 4 weeks ending December 5th, 2022. Kanata rentals. 39 active, averaging 32 days on market at a price of $2,650. 31 were rented in the last 4 weeks, averaging 22 days on market at a price of $2,358. In 2021, 30 rented, almost the same. 25 days on market, almost the same. Average price was $2,400. So the rental price seems to be down a little bit. 39 active in Kanata, not as many as Orleans last week, and definitely not as many as Barrhaven with that 178 number or whatever it was a couple of weeks ago. That was crazy. I should have a look and update that. But the prices are coming down. The rental prices are coming down because they have to. I want to mention this. How we have the conversation about people who are individual, they have like maybe one other rental property or maybe 2. They leveraged themselves when the market was hot, pulled out some money to get an income property versus corporations having more rental properties. And how we've said that, the people that may get hurt financially in this could be the people like the single investors. So I looked through all of these today to see who the owners were. Hey, there's Paul. Nice to see you, bud. And they were almost all single, like one or two names on title. So like a single owner or a couple. Now, whether they own more properties than just this one that's available right now, I'm not sure. But there were only 2 corps that owned all of the rentals in Kanata. So I thought that was very interesting to see, and there was price drops in a lot of them. So hence what we're seeing. The numbers of the rental cost is finally coming down, becoming more affordable. So it's gonna keep moving. People are just kind of they've accepted that they're going to take a bit of a hit for a little while, and that's it.
The only thing I can see, I mean, I can kind of understand if you're out shopping right now and prices keep reducing. You know, if you're approved for say 1.2 million, right? That's your max purchase price, and you're looking at that dream home that was 1.3 and now it's dropped down to 1.2. You're probably going to still be a little bit hesitant to be like, well, you know, we like the 1.3, but we love the 1.4. So if this one's dropped down to 1.2, maybe if we wait another month, that 1.4 is going to come down too. So people are kind of in that.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going on, man.
Where people are just like, well, if I can get this for this price today, maybe I can get even more for this price in 30 days from now. So people are just kind of sitting and waiting to see what happens. So I can understand that mentality. You kind of get stuck in that cycle, right? Of the wait and see, but we're getting more for our buck. So people are kind of trying to time the market perfectly, so it's right at the bottom. So they're getting the maximum amount of house for what they're pre-approved for.
And a lot of that time that will fail. That plan will fail because
always
don't like what I say to everybody. I'm like, if you like it, don't worry about the offer. Let's just do the offer, see where it goes. If it doesn't work, you wait. Maybe you can get it better later or something else later, but you got to try. That's the problem. People wait. And then again, historically, the ones that wait come this spring where maybe it won't be busy. Maybe the prices will go down more. But what if all of a sudden it doesn't? And then, you know, there's a really nice one now. Like I probably saw about 20 townhomes over the last week, and they were all very, very average. They all needed work. Half of them were vacant, but they all needed work. There was nothing that was like a pristine move-in townhome, because you know what? If it was, there probably would have been a few offers on it, because there's a lot of buyers out there right now, no matter what it was priced at. So now this is what I say. So what happens in, let's say, the last week of January? All of a sudden, one really nice townhouse comes out, and in that area, there's 10 others or 15 others, but they all need work. Who do you think's going to go and look at the nice one? All of the buyers, and half of them are going to want to submit on it. And then we're back in a multiple offer scenario, regardless of anything, because it's a nice finished product. A lot of people don't want to take the time, spend a little less on the property itself, do the renovations, which is where you will gain the most value in your property and your experience as a homeowner. Is if you buy something that needs a little bit of work, you put it into it, you know, you get to live in it, and you'll get a better result when you go to sell. Like the people now. To
your point, like I've actually still been seeing and having clients having to engage in multiple offers. So even as we talk with these stats of, you know, a number of listings, places sitting on the market, but those places that are done up are still getting a lot of attention. And I've spoke this past week, I spoke to 3 different realtors that were having to go like engage in a multiple offer because their clients, it was a, you know, nice place, nicely renovated. And to your point, like people just not wanting to purchase something that needs work still. But I thought that was pretty interesting, even though all the stats are, you know, that stuff sitting for a while and things like that. There is still that appetite for those fully renovated.
I spoke to someone too. I don't know why, I can't remember who it was, but they were in a multiple offer scenario. They said the house was priced exceptionally low for what it was. But anyways, I think they won. It ended up being like 100,000 over or something. But that's because it was a single for like, you know, 700 that was worth 850 or whatever.
Yeah. Well, Paul, are you sure? Do you have any mood boosts, or I know
I have boosts.
You
didn't? No, I'm back at my desk. So I'll tell you what happened this morning. I started wearing my Apple Watch again. I was trying to get just like heart rates and things like that while exercising. But what happens is whenever I set my alarm now, it doesn't actually go off on my phone. It just vibrates on my watch when I'm sleeping. And so, yeah, that didn't work this morning. It was, my hand was probably asleep under my pillow or something. And anyways, woke up to my son he waking me up at 8 being like, Dad, it's 8. We got to go. I was like, oh shit.
That's
get on the horse. Anyways, we're back home. We're ready to rock. I got 3 today. So number 1, where does the electric cord go to shop? The outlet mall. Yep. Number 2, why did Cinderella get kicked off the soccer team? Because she ran away from the ball. Not good.
Good. It's good.
Not good on the soccer pitch. And last but not least, number 3, a lot of people out of town right now. Where did hamsters go on vacation? Good old Amsterdam. Amsterdam.
Wow. Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
That's what I got.
Those are pretty decent. Those are pretty
I like
decent.
Paul, if anyone was watching and wondering what I was doing while I was looking down like this, I was inviting Paul to share in Apple Watch fitness challenges. You'll have an invite there, Paul.
You're on.
You can track my my performance daily.
or lack thereof.
I should say to listeners too that we recently became a lot more active on our TikTok and also on our YouTube Shorts. So if you're not already subscribed, certainly give us a follow on TikTok, on Facebook, and on YouTube. YouTube especially. That's where all of our content, all the new episodes are posted every Tuesday, 10 a.m., as well as on all the streaming platforms. So we will be back next week with a guest. And I will actually be on a remote location, gentlemen. It's gonna be great. Taking a little hiatus, so I'll be joining. But
oh yeah, that's right.
From Dominicano.
Oh, that'll be nice.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
Yeah, so we'll be back next week, and thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, great job.
All right,
Deuces.
see you guys.
Great job, but us, I guess.
Great job, Greg.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe because we'd really like that.